Heard that.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. How are you doing, Dusty?
Good, good, good. How have you been?
Oh, hanging in there. Just like everybody, I suppose.
Yeah.
Hanging there by the last threads.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for us here, we just sort of realized, like, oh, fuck, this is going to go on for a long time. So
Yeah.
we're we're kind of like, I don't know, in March or whatever, right? It was like, oh, we just have to make it to June, and then we'll be okay. And now it's like, oh, this is probably going to go till February or next March. So,
Yeah.
that means you kind of have to approach it pretty differently. So,
Yeah. Hard to make any form of real long-term plans.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
we could always evolve and adapt. That's how species survive, I think.
Yeah, 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 but I think that's like intergenerationally, right? It's not usually individuals, individuals examples.
Yes.
So
By the end of the day, I will evolve and adapt.
I will evolve. Yeah. I'm gonna grow gills, and I am fucking out.
All right, Dusty, we got the record button going and all that stuff.
Yep. We're rolling, rocking and rolling. Conversations with Greatness, Episode 1, Dr. Nick Nash.
Hooray! Wow, I'm so excited about this. I mean, I like this style of talking with people because we're talking to people who have much more expertise in areas that, well, we're kind of interested in. And Dr. Nash, your field is philosophy.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm a philosopher, among many other things. So yeah, well, where do you guys want to start today?
Well, let's see here. I do believe you brought up the idea of talking about ethos.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, for sure. So, how about you start us off and just tell me how it is that either both of you or one of you guys define that.
Okay, well, I'm going through my Rolodex of random info in my head, and I really did think about cheating and looking up the word first on Google before I talked to you, but I realized that would be cheating.
Okay,
I had
okay.
the same thought a few minutes ago. I was like, I need to do homework. Like, nope, I feel like that would be cheating.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So I just looked it up. I just cheated. All right.
Nice.
Ethos is the characteristic spirit of culture or era or community as manifested in its beliefs and aspirations.
Well, shit,
So
I was way off.
yeah. So what is it that you wanted to talk about? What were the ideas that you were thinking about?
All right,
if
so
you wanted to get a
when I was flipping through my Rolodex, I kind of lumped ethos together with pathos and logos. It's probably contradictory to those ones, but they're still in the same ballpark, same neighbors, same brothers, sisters, whatever you want to call them.
yeah.
And I was thinking about, well, ethos was probably the root word for the word ethics, as in the way we behave and what governs our decisions.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about, why we behave the way we do and what governs our decisions, it sounds like a very interesting conversation to me. And as I mentioned to you earlier when I talked to you last week, I'm in the middle of teaching an online ethics course right now. So it's something I've been thinking about a lot in my sort of spare time. So what is it that's interesting to you guys when you think about that topic?
Well, I try define the difference between happiness and contentment and satisfaction.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I think those would govern the way I behave or the actions I make, which I think falls in the whole ethos category here.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. So let's start it off. I mean, we got three people here. So Dusty, how is it that you explain or define happiness? What's happiness for you?
Shit, that's a very hard, deep question.
Yeah,
I guess
agree.
I'd say
I agree.
happiness for me is being around the people I love,
Yeah.
being, in a comfortable environment, not in a, I typically think of happiness as kind of, in my comfort zone with the people that I love that love me,
Yeah. 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 So how does that connect to contentment? Are you, it sounds like you'd be content in these conditions that you're laying out. But do you see a distinction between the two?
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. Now that you mention it, I pretty much just completely described my content. Not really my happy. Like, that is my content. Happy, I've found lately, creating. That's where I get the most, because and that's one where I'll get on a tangent, and all of a sudden I'm sitting here at the table alone, and it's the middle of the night. And I'm just over here laughing or like getting pumped up, like, oh, we're gonna it's gonna do this, it's gonna do this.
Yeah. So talk me through that. So like, what is it that is about that's about creating that does that? Is it the times when, as you explained, like you sort of lose yourself in it? Is that what creates the happiness?
I think that's a big part of it. Yeah, the kind of the disconnecting and really losing myself in a story or in whatever we're doing, no matter how silly it is, because sometimes we will get on a tangent where it's like, we're just creating silliness, this will never even make it to anything, but you still just have that kind of that good feeling of I guess completion, that I did something, I was a part of something. I made something happen. Yeah. And so when you experience this, it sounded earlier like, do you lose yourself in it? Like, time sort of stops and it's like, oh shit, it's been 5 hours. Or are you like aware of yourself as you're moving through this experience? Oh yeah, I mean, for the most part, and especially when I hit my real happy point, I completely lose myself in it, and that's where it's the story or whatever it is takes along, and I'm just kind of a passenger there for the ride. Like, okay, let's see where this takes us.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, that's my experience. I think something that's sort of funny to reflect on as we do this is that it's interesting that these moments, right, when it's like, that's happiness. Right, but they tend to be moments where you're disconnected from the world. Right.
So basically, you're saying you feel best when you're not connected to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I just think, I mean, I think it's at least worth recognizing that that's a part of the way we're presenting it, right? A funny, I mean, at least I would explain it in a way similar to you, Dusty, and I would say that those moments, like when I'm able to disconnect from my brain and my body, those are the ones where I, feel happy, and I
feel
think
the best.
And I think sometimes that says more about me than it says about happiness. That's not to say that way of reacting is wrong or anything like that. I think it's an interesting thing to reflect on.
Yeah, it's an acknowledgement of it. And, I don't know. For me, like, I'd like to chime in on this and say, for some reason, like, when I feel happy, like, it's usually something that shocks me, or something that surprises me, like, that's what separates it from feeling content. If I feel happy, it's because something happened that was really good that I did not expect, and that just brings like a certain sort of glee to it,
Yeah. I like that idea. That it's that the sort of happiness is coming from these things that you don't expect, or if you do expect them, they're sort of like they're separate from the contentment, right? They're like a separate sort of high point from the contentment. When I hear you talk, I sort of think of the way that like jokes work for me, right? Like I think that things are funny when they kind of come out of nowhere and it's like unexpected, and it's like, oh shit, I wasn't expecting that to happen.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
The shock and awe factor, basically. I think that's what really helps differentiate happiness from contentment.
Yeah.
If, you know,
So then, what about satisfaction? Where does that fit in, or is that just a synonym for contentment?
I think they're separate. I think satisfaction and contentment are two different things. You know, I guess like maybe like with contentment, I know like everything's all good, you know, and there's nothing I have to really like control. Nothing I did personally brought me to that level of contentment. Whereas satisfaction, it feels like something that I have done, like perhaps all day. You know, maybe I just put in like a kick-ass like 10-hour day at work, made a lot of people happy, and I could look back on my day and be satisfied. You know. Whereas, like, if I just go home to people I care about and, like, hang out, like, watching, I don't know, maybe The Simpsons on TV or something like that, like, that's a form of contentment. But satisfaction definitely required my own effort.
Satisfaction hurts a lot more.
Okay.
You got to real work for satisfaction. That is a thing too.
Okay.
I can agree with that.
So I could be content in my pajamas on Saturday, but if I'm going to actually have satisfaction, I'm going to have to put on my running shoes. Is that the idea?
Yep. You're gonna have to get up and go out. You know, do a little workout or something.
Wow, that's
Go ahead,
enlightening. That's enlightening. Like, that's actually a very good, like, three different definitions of three different words, you know, that, well, we're all trying to get to the base truth answer for.
Yeah. If you two are agreeable, I'd like to sort of talk about something that I think is sort of connected to this, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on these ideas.
Hey, bring it on, Doctor.
Talk to the two very often. It's related to this conversation, but so something I think a lot about, because one of my other job when I'm not teaching philosophy involves working as a consultant. And one of the things that we often have the opportunity to work with are people either just entering the workforce or that have been in the workforce for a long time and sort of need to improve their skills. And the distinction I'm thinking about is the distinction between value versus passion, right? So I'm sure the two of you have heard this phrase, love what you do and never work a day in your life. Have you guys heard this saying?
Yeah, I have heard that old adage.
Yeah. And I think it's complete fucking bullshit, right? So, like, this is my boss in my other job. This is a distinction that her and I have. She likes and she thinks this way, I think, because she really enjoys her work, and so maybe it does actually feel to her like she isn't working. But I've always felt like, look, an important part of any job is going to involve you doing things that you despise, right?
Okay.
And both of you, as far as I remember, work in kitchens, right?
Yeah.
So what parts of your jobs don't you like, right? What things fucking suck about working in a kitchen?
For me, it's definitely talking with people. Like, I don't like to talk to people. I'd rather just show up and do my thing as best as I can do it, and not have to A, teach other people how to do what I do, B, teach them how to do their job better. You know, C, I guess sometimes I gotta try to light a fire under people's asses because they're just moving too slow or they're just not focused or whatever. And all three of those things involve talking to people, and I just really would not like to do that, even though I'm on a podcast right now.
Yeah. Well, you got to pick this talk, right?
Yeah.
You don't get to pick. I mean, even when you hire the people, right? You don't necessarily get to pick the situations that you're in with them.
Yeah.
So, Dusty, how about you? What things don't you like about,
well, let's see. I mean, there's a lot of the, especially now that I've been doing it for a little while, a lot of the little aches and pains that come from the little different maneuvers that I've only ever seen made in a kitchen, like the duck down and reach 4 feet back into a cooler to grab something.
Yeah, repeated 20 times every fucking 2 minutes.
It's cool that you brought that up, because I have a very good example of that, basically almost, proving you right there. Like, even with the stuff that we've really found that, we're doing just for love. Like, we've, started filming a bunch of videos and recording videos and doing podcasts, and I love it, and I love all of it. and the writing and whatnot, but there are definitely parts of it where it's like, sometimes to do what you love, part of that is doing work,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and you're bringing it back around to, I think, exactly where this distinction is most important, right? So now you're talking about, and we brought this up previously, right? So when you were talking about when you're happy, right, it's in these times of creativity when you're creating, right? And but even then, there's parts of the process that are like, look, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And this is the part of the love what you do, never work a day in your life adage that I think needs to be blown up, right? Because what happens, and I see this happen, right? People think like they run into that part of the process that they don't like, right? Whether, let's just imagine you don't like editing the podcast, because that can be kind of a shitty part.
Yeah.
And so like you get to the editing part and you're like, fuck, man, like 2 hours of editing, this sucks. And what a lot of people do is they say like, oh shit, I don't enjoy this, so I must not love this enough, right? And so there's something wrong with me, right? If I love this enough, I would love even this editing part, right? But because I don't, there's something wrong with me, and I don't love this creation enough. Right.
Wow. That's a really good way to think about that. I mean, just because you don't like all slices of a pizza doesn't mean you like pizza in general. So I mean, it takes like a little bit of like a dealing with the things that you don't particularly care about it to balance out the things that you're really passionate for.
Yeah, and you have to accept, right? You have to know and accept. Like, look, there are going to be parts of this I don't like, and that's okay. I mean, so for me, I really thought about this a lot when I was in graduate school and working on my PhD. And when you're in graduate school, I just would spend every day at a desk, like reading fucking weird old books, right? And I'm in the air conditioning, so I guess that's cool, right? But it is not fun, At least for me, it's not fun. Like I enjoy the outcome, right? I enjoy like having read the book, doing the analysis, and like the end point of having written whatever I end up writing about it, right? But I don't like the process of reading the fucking old book because it's painful and it's shitty and it's slow, right? And I actually don't really even like the process of the analysis because it's like it hurts and it's also slow and it's uncomfortable, right? And then quite frankly, I don't even like the writing, right? For all those same reasons. It fucking hurts and it's slow and it's shitty and you fucking change your words 700 times, right? And you feel like a fucking idiot every day until you got this thing done and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? And so the way that I think and what I think that we're actually after are things that we value, right? Because when you're pursuing things that you value, so we can use Dusty's example of creativity, right? I value being creative. Value makes no claims about enjoyment or not enjoyment.
Oh, that's
right?
true.
I can do things that I value, and I'm not saying anything about whether I like it or not.
Right? Yeah, I guess that's brass facts right there. I mean, say you value like a truth, and so your whole quest in this whole thing is trying to find truth or knowledge about truth. And every single step along the way might be up a rugged, steep hill and a stupid mountain during a fucking shitty storm. However, that's every step that goes towards your value of truth,
Yeah. Or I mean, even, like, even everyday things, right? Like maybe, I don't know, I value physical fitness, but I hate working out, right?
Well, you also may hate tying your shoes, but if you want to go jogging, you should probably tie your shoes,
right. Yeah, I value not tripping. I value my shoes doing what they're supposed to do, right? Which they don't when they're not tied.
So. You probably still have Velcro shoes, right?
Well, that's true. That's true. I actually have a long history of not wearing shoes with laces. So my running shoes do have laces, but every other pair of shoes I wear doesn't have laces, and that's on purpose. Like I don't wear like normal everyday tie shoes. And the joke I say about it is that it's so that I know what I'm supposed to be doing just by looking at the top of my shoes, right? So if I look down and my shoes have laces, that means I'm supposed to be running,
Yeah.
right? But if I look down and there are no laces, that means I don't have to run. So just sort of, so.
Goddamn, Nick, I'm sure happy that some things really don't change.
Yeah. I mean, I'm basically the same person I was when we were 18, with a few important adjustments. So.
Indeed. I recall like us being like in an AP like English class or whatever, and we're just casually reading Socrates or Plato while like the teacher's trying to hand us out like reading material and just kind of like scoffing at them basically.
Yeah.
God, what would it be like to be like so arrogant again?
I'll tell you, man. I think about that a lot. I really think, sort of the process of aging is just realizing that all of the things that you thought were like great ideas and how smart you were are all false, and they weren't that great of an idea, and you're not that smart.
Yeah, there's our quest for truth. Now we're trying to get truth. I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, Plato said some version of, the only thing I know is that I don't know very much. So, yeah.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe like we could hook up a generator to his feet in his grave, and while he watches the world, he'll just turn over and over, spin in his grave, and we have infinite energy, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Okay, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Fuck,
Good
man.
morning.
I just woke up.
I hope everybody's minds are officially blown.
I always happy and excited to talk about big ideas.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's next on the list, Jeff? What do you want to talk about next?
Oh, jeez. Oh, let's see here. I kind of like the idea of the trials and tribulations it takes us to get to truth. And
okay,
it definitely falls in like a pattern of what we've been talking about as far as like, well, what don't you like about your job, or what makes it a passion? Your passion is to find truth. I assume being a philosopher, right? Like that's literally translates as like a lover of truth, I believe.
Sure. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know if this is gonna like wreck your strategy, but I'm definitely not. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. I'm definitely not in philosophy to find truth. I'm pretty skeptical. I mean, especially quite frankly in our current world conditions. But I don't know that that's necessarily the direction we're working towards. I mean, I guess, to me, what's valuable about philosophy is that it gives us a way to systematically work towards improving our beliefs, right?
Okay.
And something that's interesting about our beliefs, even as we improve them, right, is that they can be wrong at any time, and quite frankly, in any version of their improvement, right?
Yeah.
And and I guess I think the other thing that philosophy does that's very good and very underappreciated these days is it gives us a way to say, like, oh, you know what? Like, all that stuff that I used to believe is wrong. And that's okay. That's cool. That shit happens.
Wow,
that's
like
all right.
you have like a really nice acceptance of that fact. Like that would just bug the fucking shit out of me. Like, oh, my belief is wrong. Like, but I like that belief. That's my belief. I like it. And to find out it's wrong.
I see. So, but it is interesting. That's interesting because inevitably you've held beliefs that are wrong before, right?
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So, go ahead, Dusty.
I mean, Santa Claus, we all kind of start with that one, Like, anyone who says that they've never had a belief that's wrong has been waiting way too long on Santa Claus.
I agree, right? I was asking him a question that I knew he only had one answer to, right? So, like, it's the setup. But, so, talk me through this, Jeff. You say that you don't like letting go of your beliefs. Talk me through the experience of letting go of one.
Oh, geez. I mean, well, let's see here. I guess systematically, I'm a pretty stubborn person, and once I find that one thing works, even though it may not work all the time at all different occasions or whatever, I know that to be working. And so I guess if I know something that does work and all of a sudden it stops working, that's just kind of shattering like a belief in something that I know is reliable and good.
Yeah.
You know? And so, I mean, I don't know, like, so we'll take, for example, I do my very best to treat people exactly how they treat me, you know? I think that's just a pretty good rule of thumb to work by. However, like, if I'm in the workplace and I work for a pretty larger restaurant than I typically choose to work for, if I treat managers the exact same way they treat me, that gets me in trouble because most of them are shitty managers. So, I mean, that's a belief I uphold, you know, and it just doesn't work that way in a corporate environment, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I think it's unfortunate that it in fact doesn't, but it probably should. Right.
Right. So do I change my belief, or do I just keep on trying to be the right example of how to be a human being? I don't know. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, so let's dig into that a little bit, right? So you say like, okay, well, maybe it's like some version of the golden rule, right? I treat people the way that they treat me. Okay, awesome. But then I run into these situations where people fucking treat me like shit. And if I treat them like shit because they have authority over me, then I get in trouble.
And I risk losing my job, and losing my job means I can't afford rent or booze or cigarettes. So that's a negative consequence.
Yes, it is a serious negative consequence. So then, is it the belief here that's not good, or is it?
And that's why I don't want to give up, because I know the belief is good. I know that's how things should be. You know, the fact that I know that's how things should be, and I uphold that, is why I don't want that to change. That's why I won't change the way I deal with people. You know,
right?
So I know I'm right, and like they have authority over me, and they think they're right, but I've never really had a very high upholding of natural hierarchy, I guess, when it comes to authority to begin with. You know, I mean, I'll be the first guy who like tries to outrun a cop in a fucking car or whatever, you know, or I don't know, like maybe it's because, you know, as you know, my situation, you know, like growing up with a mother for a cop, like I just realized that all authoritative figures are actually human beings, and so I just don't like uphold that natural hierarchy of authority, I suppose.
Yeah. This is we should talk about this later. This is actually something that's interesting that we both hold. We both, I think, have tremendous problems with authority that I think we represent in very, very different ways. But we could talk about that here in a minute. So I just realized actually that, and maybe this is what's generating the problem, Jeff. So look, your sort of maxim that you're using, right, is treat people the way that they treat you, right?
Okay.
But notice and remember what the golden rule is, right? The golden rule is treat people the way that you want to be treated, right? So talk me through. Dusty, I'll bring you in here. Help Jeff out. Like what's it seem like the distinction is between these two things? I'll go through it one more time, right? So Jeff's maxim: treat people the way that they treat you, versus the golden rule, which is treat people the way that you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's definitely more the side I've always fallen on. Treat people the way you want to be treated. I think it was a lot of how I was raised was just, always be polite, always be nice.
Yeah.
Always try to make the best out of any situation. And I oftentimes find too, I'll try to analyze problems or situations where I'll start to analyze, like, what is that person's point of view?
Yeah.
Like, they're being an asshole, but like, what's their point of view? What are they going through that's making them be an asshole?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
shit. It seems like both you two are teaming up on me to change my beliefs, and that's something I'm
No.
uncomfortable with.
I was going to ask Dusty. I mean, like you live with Jeff. I've known Jeff for a long time, right? But I do actually think his maxim is treat people how they treat you. I mean, would you agree, Dusty, that is
100%? Yeah, that is
100%
100% honesty from Jeff right there. And he called it straight out at the beginning of the belief stock. He is a stubborn motherfucker.
That is right. That is right.
I refuse to change my stubbornness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so we've certainly maybe found what may present itself as a weakness in your belief, but I suppose if we dig, presumably there's also some strengths to this particular way of existing, right?
Well, I think it's fair. I think it's absolutely fair, and fair is like a stepping stone on the way to justice. So I don't know why that ideology of mine should change. I mean,
yeah, and I guess I don't necessarily think that you need to change it. One thing that I would say, and I mean, this well, because this was the example you used, right? In the situations where you come across people who don't treat you well and they have authority over you, right? It's under those conditions that the maxim starts to run into trouble.
Yes.
So normally what you would do in that situation when your maxim runs into trouble is to just generate some other sort of, maxim or rule to help get you out of the problem, which I mean is obviously what you do, right? So it's like, well, when I'm in these situations where someone's being a fucking asshole to me and they have authority over me, right? And so I can't treat them like an asshole back. I would imagine that you treat them just good enough to not lose your job, or maybe you use a strategy that I adopt sometimes where it's like, okay, motherfucker, like now I'm just going to manipulate you with every strength of my being to get what I want out of you, right?
Okay, I'm familiar with that one. I'm definitely familiar with that one.
yeah, and I mean, like, look, like, is that like the fucking higher order way to exist? No, probably not. But like, I'm not moving towards any higher order, right? Very quickly, anyway. So I sort of adopt these rules to survive.
So maybe I use that manipulative force you're talking about to have them reevaluate like what authority is. Kind of like turn the mirror on them, basically, make them feel like an asshole for being an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, and if you could do that, then you're actually, you're encouraging them to grow, right? And I think
that's true.
That, like, under those conditions, like, I don't even really think that's, it's manipulative in that you are sort of adjusting your conditions to accomplish what it is you want to accomplish, right? Which is basically, in this case, just them not being a fucking asshole, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that falls under what we're normally talking about when we talk about being manipulative, right? So,
well, it has a higher purpose to it, and like maybe I'm just being arrogant and thinking that I know like what's best for the world, and so I go that route and I try to change their view on authority, or like try to change their view on things in a long roundabout like scenic trek to how to get there, and I guess that would accomplish my goal of basically, if something's wrong in the world, I do my very best to fucking fix it,
Yeah.
It's kind of like walking into, like, say, maybe a strange hotel room and straightening a picture on the wall, because it's crooked. It's crooked. I want it straight. It's better because it's straight, so.
Yeah. I mean, what if the artist comes in and is like, oh, it was meant to be crooked?
Yeah.
Well, I'd call him an artist, not a carpenter.
He would probably say true enough.
Oh, good one. Damn.
No, that's actually a Banksy. It's supposed to be crooked.
Right.
Well, then make a crooked frame for it.
That was a $350,000 painting.
That just went through the shredder?
Just went through a shredder, yeah.
Oh, man. All right, so, like, there's, I guess, art versus, like, carpentry or practical. So, like, maybe, like, illogical and dreamer stuff versus practical and rational. Maybe that's a separation there.
But I mean, that I feel like that's hard to say though, because like carpentry is art for some people. You know
No,
what
it's
I
a
mean?
craft. It's not art. It's a craft.
It's art for some people.
It's a craft.
It's their art form. It's how they're expressing themselves through building shit. It might be a craft, but it's still their art.
Maybe.
So I mean, to make some progress, I think we need to sort of define what we're doing here. So, Jeff, how is it that? Actually, we'll start with Dusty. Dusty, how do you define the distinction between an art and a craft?
I guess it would be the level of yourself, the level of your soul that you're putting into it. Not just your body and your mind, but when you get to that point, like, I'm not talking about, dudes putting up track homes as like thinking that's an art, or even guys building regular houses. But you see somebody, and I've known some carpenters too, who it's like, they built their house, and when they built it, they built it, and that was art. That was definitely, not the same as just them doing their craft. That was them feeling and loving every piece of wood that went into that house and every part of that house. And every touch of it you can tell it's them, because it's got their impression on it.
All right, so a level of passion combined with imagination, I suppose, or just, passion for sure, but...
Mm-hmm. Definitely a high level of passion. Because and you could say the same about, cooking, even though culinary arts is what they call it. Like, it's not art a lot of the time. A lot of the time, it's
Here's
your trade, not your art.
Yeah, my master art piece of a basket of fries. I spent an entire 2 minutes and 40 seconds working on this basket of fries, season it properly for you.
But then at the same time, and anyone who's had me or Jeff cook them dinner knows that, at the same time, that can also turn into, that is fucking art. There's a piece of that dude's soul right on my plate in front of me that I'm about to
put it in my mouth.
Yeah. So how often do you guys get the chance to make meals like that, as opposed to the bucket of fries?
Well, there's always a chance. You always choose your level of commitment. When I go to work. And so if I got this really stupid, crazy idea, I obviously got to run it through some sources, and get the idea passed or whatever. But preferably, I'd rather do that stuff at home.
Yeah.
And that's also choose your level of commitment. I mean, say okay, yesterday was Sunday, I like having barbecues on Sunday. Dusty fired the barbecue, made some great fucking burgers, I mean, that's great, But then it could also, come directly down to how much do I want to put into this? How much effort do I want to put into this? And maybe that's where it leans more towards the passion side of things rather than just the craft side. I feel I feel like stuff with a craft, you might be a great craftsman, that might be my version of a basket of fries, basically. I know I could do this. I know I'll do it right. I know it'll be seasoned properly, and it'll be cooked great, crispy, and all that. But it's just something I can do, but I don't have to really think about it too much,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know, God.
It's crazy how, too, that it's almost like an internal, a little switch where the same thing, pretty much the same thing can be art that was a craft. Because, think a good example would be think about a chair maker, right? And say he makes, just like we're sitting on typical four-legged wooden chairs, and he is just cranking them out for 30 years, just cranking out generic chairs that are beautiful, but, it's just, that's his craft. But say during that 30 years, 15 of it, he's been making the perfect rocking chair. One rocking chair out of all of the best pieces of wood that have spoken to him. He's still just making a chair, but that, there's no argument against that. Second chair is clearly, the rocking chair is clearly going to be art when it comes out,
So that basically requires a level of imagination and a level of passion, and something that he's really going after there. I could make a million good chairs, but this one rocking chair is going to change the world.
Yeah. I would just sort of to loop back to our previous conversation. I hear you guys using the word passion a lot. I wonder, in our rocking chair maker, for it to be art, were there ever any times when he was like, "Yo, fuck this! I'm so sick of this goddamn rocking chair. I've been working on it for 13 years." Or is it all just like, "Yo, I love this fucking rocking chair. I would spend every moment of my life working on it if I could"? Which one do you think explains our chair maker?
Well, I think it definitely involves both of those. Like that's two different sides of the brain going on there,
Okay.
And I guess, being human, we have two different opinions about, what we're doing at the same time, So like, you're going to make it a standard chair or a rocking chair. You're going to love it. You're going to hate it. Are you just not in the mood for it today? Or are you like spending all night, like staying up working on this, So, I mean, that's like a kind of like the spectrum of human emotion, I think.
Yeah. It's kind of that almost like the big pendulum swing too, to think about it. Cause like a good example would be, the regular chairs. Say, he's making the regular chairs. He's not putting too much of himself in it. Mm-hmm. But he's probably also not, on the stressed out side. He might get stressed out about like, oh, that's a big fucking chair order. But, he's not going to get nearly as stressed as he is if he's like, I've spent 20 days trying to get the perfect bend in that fucking rocking chair and it won't bend right. But on the same side, he's going to have a million times more, more passion and more happiness when making that rocking chair too. Like,
Yeah.
That actually might go back to our conversation about satisfaction. At the end of the day, he's satisfied because he made that rocking chair. He might be content that he made 100 other chairs that are perfectly functional sitting down style, 4-legged, but content versus satisfaction right there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we've been talking about art versus craft sort of on a continuum. Right. Mm-hmm. So there's craft and it leads into art. Do you think that there are any actions or behaviors or functions that are purely craft, so they have no art?
Okay. Geez.
Hole digging.
Digging a hole.
I've seen some people try to make that shit into art, and it's like, you're trying to convince yourself, because we are clearly just digging fucking holes right now.
Sounds to me like a man who's dug a hole or two in his life.
Good one, dude. That's good.
Yeah. No matter what they tell you, you're just digging holes.
Yeah. I think to support your claim, Dusty, it's like I don't even know that I've ever had anyone try to convince me it's art, right? Maybe I've been working with someone who's trying to convince themselves that it's art, but like no one who's ever asked me to dig a hole is like, yo, it's art. Fucking get into it. They're like, no.
Isn't this just a beautiful creation we're making? It's a hole in the fucking ground. But then you know what? I say that, and I instantly, my mind goes back to I don't know if you've seen those videos on YouTube of the guys on some fucking, I think it's somewhere in the South Pacific, who make like crazy underground houses with sticks.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm sure that's their fucking art. If you can make an underground bathhouse in like 20 days with a stick, then maybe I've been looking and shoveling all wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, like that's a great example. I mean, I guess there are some things that are definitively crafts, but that's all in the eye of the beholder, maybe. I mean, geez.
So we were moving in the direction of figuring it out. So I mean, Dusty, made the suggestion that ditch digging, could be something that's just a craft, and then he did what philosophers certainly encourage, which is that he came up with his own counterexample to his suggestion. So fucking A plus, Dusty. You're welcome in my class anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime you want.
Shit,
exactly the kind of behavior
try to encourage. You're welcome too, Jeff.
Just be less stubborn.
Yeah, well, I love to have both of you there, just so that I think it fucking help blow the students' minds to just hear someone a little bit older talking a little bit. But in any case, so maybe ditch digging won't work. Is there something that might?
Let's see here. I'm thinking about like a conversation that Destiny had last week about like a Mr. Flippy burger bot. Like White Castle just like create a machine that would flip burgers and replace like a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that machine is just supposed to stand there like flip 30 burgers at once or whatever, is he performing a craft or an art, or does it matter?
I
think, that's that. I mean,
what do you think?
I'd definitely say it's either a craft or something. I would even try to find a category below that to put a burger flipping robot in. He's just executing a program.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the person who like programmed the bot to do what it does, or the person who like repairs the robot, maybe those people are executing a craft, and maybe even sometimes an art. I don't know, but yeah, it's hard to imagine. It's hard to say that the robot is
making art rather than just doing
a
craft.
Very hard to say it's making art. It seems like it's even hard to say that it's taking part in a craft.
Which is interesting too, though, because then you have the argument come up directly after that. If it's directly replacing one person, then that would be the person who's, their craft can't be art. Because at best, you're doing a craft, buddy.
But we might wonder, though, because, I mean, it seems like when we are talking about what it is that makes something an art, right? And then maybe now with the flippy robot, right, we recognize like, oh, Jesus, that doesn't even seem like it's doing a craft. And then, Dusty made the nice move of saying like, well, fuck, that seems to suggest that the person flipping the burger isn't even doing a craft, right? But what if it is something about the like human contribution that makes the craft a craft, right? And then makes the art the art.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I speculate that they'd be halfway necessary. I mean, you have to have like the human involvement for anything to be either an art or a craft. I mean, you have to have like a human, making a decision, based upon their judgment to make that, one of the two.
Yeah. So the sort of challenge that jumps to mind for me is, so what about the like painting elephants? Are they making art? Or the painting gorillas? So does it have to be a human?
Okay, I see where you're
or is that not art?
Yeah, no, I think I'd have to side with the animals being art too. Oddly over the robots. Something.
Yeah.
There's just something about that where it's, and I feel like it's and that might be the secret, is the ability to make a choice to elevate your task. Is what differentiates, a task from a craft from an art.
Okay. So you're suggesting that the animals there are they're doing this, right? So they're making the choice to elevate the craft to an art.
Yeah.
I know.
That's right.
Do they find satisfaction or contentment in it? I mean, if at the end of the day, like the elephants, raising their tusks to the task, are actually making, themselves satisfied or content.
Yeah, that's actually the question. Is it? I guess the real depth to it would be whether or not it's just a trained task, or if it's something that they're, like, I'm sure it's 100% it's trained, but like how much of that are they taking onto themselves, and how much of it is just like if I do this swooshy motion 6 times with my tusk or with my trunk, then somebody feeds me a fucking peanut.
Yeah. So are you undermining your claim that the animals are doing art, or are you just still trying to figure out what it is they're doing?
I guess I'm still just trying to figure it out. I think,
yeah.
I mean, I'd say it probably is, similar to people in the way that it probably depends on the animals. Like, I guarantee there's at least one of those painting gorillas that's just like, yeah, I fucking crushed that.
Yeah. The Picasso of gorillas.
Yeah, exactly. That was amazing.
Yeah. All right, so like that'd take a self-realization and self-actualization, and
I guess a lot on them.
Recognizing, I don't know, maybe developing ego here, And so I assume that most animals operate off the id scenario, but if they actually take satisfaction and contentment in making a few like brush strokes or whatever, then they develop egos.
Sure.
Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I would sort of like interject here, right? So this is a very unpopular response, I suspect, with most people. You could clean the whole discussion up a lot by just saying simply like, no, actually, what the animals are doing isn't art, right? And following from this, you wouldn't have to get into this like really what I think is a pretty wild space, right? Which is to say like, well, Jesus Christ. So then we're saying that the animals also, like, as you put it, are developing an ego and all this stuff. So just, one strategy I'm particularly fond of because I have very weird beliefs about animals, is just to say like, nah, they don't.
Nah, fuck it, they're wrong.
They don't do that. Yeah, that is clearly just an elephant doing a trick for a peanut. That is not. He is not self-actualized. Studied other Renaissance artists somehow, and then managed to learn and grow from different Picasso paintings that he's looked at.
To Monet's and
Monet's, yeah.
No one has to agree with me. I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying.
Damn, there I thought I was a stubborn one.
Yeah. And now the thing is, though, now we see which one of us is clearly a doctor, because the other two of us are over here trying to actualize gorillas developing egos. And I had him going home, like he went home to a gorilla family after this.
And Dr. Nash says, fuck it, they're wrong.
Just to bring you guys back to reality, no.
I was presenting the other side, right? I was presenting the other side that is a little bit cleaner. It doesn't have us generating gorilla families, right? Although, of course, gorillas have something that look like families, but
maybe that might be craft work in your line of work.
Totally. Yeah.
Oh, geez, though.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Like, I don't know. Like, I think we had a pretty good conversation here. I kind of want to take a break for a cigarette. I don't know, like, if there's any direction here to move on beyond that, but I think that really fucking nailed it.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. Well, it was great talking to you guys. I always appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I think what we accomplished there was exchanging ideas, and, well, I think I actually feel dumber after this conversation.
I feel like my brain's definitely moving now. That's like some good brain acrobatics. Yeah, man, it was great having you on. We'd love to get you back as a guest sometime.
Sure. Yeah, and good luck with this new podcast, whatever it turns out to be. I look forward to seeing it, and I like watching all your guys' media things. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, for sure. Conversations with Greatness, and you're our guest number one. Episode 1, Season 1.
Season 1, Episode 1, Conversations with Greatness, Dr. Nick Nash.
Awesome. Well, have a good day, guys, and I'll talk to you again soon, Jeff.
Yeah, for sure. And tell your family hi for me. Hope everything's all going well, and I wish you luck in your October endeavors with education.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, and we're gonna send you up something or email you of that Western I talked about way back in the day. We finally got the pilot done for it.
Nice.
And it just needs to go through a couple tweaks, and I'll send it off to you to read it and
Oh,
let me know what you think. Yeah.
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 I'd like to look at anything you guys make. So yeah, feel free
Yeah,
to send it my way.
this idea started with both you and I hanging out, Nash. You know?
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
The story that's been in development for I think 13 years now. That's my fucking rocking chair.
Yeah. Well, you also got to get those first ones out of the way, right?
Oh yeah.
Sometimes the first 13-year rocking chair, you're like, okay, now I got to build a different one.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, it's always a pleasure. And
yeah.
I'll refrain from calling you a doctor. I'm just going to call you Nick because that's how I know you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Have a great day, guys. I'll talk to you
too.
Yeah, you too, bud.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.